Good afternoon, dear parents. Thank you for taking time to meet with us today. If you have any clarifications regarding our presentation, please write them in the chat box so we can address them later. To start our meeting, may we call on Lausher Catherine Lim to lead us in prayer.
Let us put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Please join me as we pray together. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. O most loving God, we praise you, we glorify you, we honor you. Lord, be with us, parents, teachers, and administrators, as we continue to collaborate with one another and do what is best for the children you have entrusted to our care. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus.
Holy
Holy
Mary,
Mary, Mother
Mother
of
of
God,
God,
pray
pray
for
for
us
us
sinners
sinners
now and
now
at
and
the hour of our death.
at death.
Amen. Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception,
Pray
pray
for
Pray
for
for
us.
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 To Jesus, through Mary, we give
We
We
thanks.
give
give
thanks.
thanks.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of
And
the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Lynn Lauscher. Good afternoon again, dear parents and guardians. We called for this meeting to address the feedback and concerns that we received from you for the past weeks. We would also like to clarify your role as parents and your daughter's responsibilities as a student. We'll also present our observations about the whole ODL setup for the past month. At this point, I would like to call on Teacher Christine to present the main concerns that we received from you.
Good afternoon, parents. Next slide, please. These are the concerns that we have received over the past month. First one is 30 minutes with teacher is short. The second one is parents end up teaching the children. Next slide, please. Child development experts say that on average, a 4 to 6-year-old child should be able to stay focused on a task for 2 to 5 minutes times the year of their age. So, young kids should be able to focus between 4 and 20 minutes, possibly more, depending on the task. This was the biggest reason we decided to keep the synchronous sessions at 30 minutes, to maximize their attention. Even the videos we sent for asynchronous work had a time cap to engage them and keep them focused. Given the limitations of the medium, our presentations are designed for that purpose, to introduce the lesson. Now you have raised concerns that you teach because the girls do not understand. I think this is born out of our own expectations. We expect this year to be like the previous years in face-to-face learning. But one thing that will change this year is pace. Also, we plan to go deep, not necessarily wide. Next slide, please. Flipped Classroom bring instructions from group learning spaces to individual learning spaces. In using Flipped Classroom, we facilitate in the deepening of the children's understanding of the lessons. In this method, the asynchronous activities go hand in hand with the synchronous sessions. The video lessons are meant to activate prior knowledge and enrichment of lessons and mastery, while the synchronous sessions are for the in-depth discussion, applying and analyzing of the lessons learned. In other words, we took activities that can be done individually and designed them to be accomplished during a synchronous time, while activities that cannot be accomplished alone, such as discussion, deepening, and processing, are done during synchronous sessions. Let's have Teacher Diane to further explain the changes that took place as we moved into online learning.
Good afternoon, parents. So,
Sync and async sessions are meant to go hand in hand. Async are not homework, but the introduction parts of the lessons. Async sessions are also what we normally do with the pupils during face-to-face learning as well. The only part we had to take away was the actual presence of the teacher. Her presence, however, is in the videos. We tried to think about what experiences made it heavy for you at home. We discussed about the workbook activities and how reading and explaining instructions could have been difficult on your part, leading you to teach more, especially when your daughter seemed not to understand the lesson. We have considered this, and as you noticed, for the past few weeks, most workbook activities are already done during encounter sessions. We found this change feasible and productive since the teacher can guide the pupils when it comes to explaining the instructions and assisting in answering the items. Additionally, we lessened assigning asynchronous tasks posted on Seesaw and added more activities during the live sessions. For the several weeks that this is in practice, we observed that the pupils really enjoy doing live activities with their classmates and their teacher. They enjoy speaking, expressing their thoughts, and sharing insights with their peers. Not only that, doing activities in encounter sessions give teachers the chance to provide immediate feedback to the pupils' works. Some of you might think that the lessons and topics were compromised and activities became too few when we lessened assigning homeworks on Seesaw. We want to reiterate that the lessons and skills we introduce to the pupils are from the most essential learning competencies implemented by DepEd for all schools this school year. Rest assured that all encounter activities we do synchronously along with the asynchronous tasks posted on Seesaw target these essential skills and competencies. We also want to let you know that all levels will conduct numerous vertical articulations with the next grade level teachers before the school year ends. These vertical articulations will be done to echo the skills and competencies covered for the year. In this way, the next level teachers will also make adjustments in their curriculum. We would like to ask you, dear parents, about your experiences with asynchronous time. Perhaps you may share your thoughts and experiences in our Q&A chat box. Now, Lauscher Merli will discuss the Chinese subject, both synchronous and asynchronous tasks.
Thank you, Teacher Diane. In response to parents' feedback, the Chinese area will be moving slower with our lessons. Instead of 2 weeks, we are extending to 3 weeks per lesson. With a longer time, we believe that this will lead to better retention and understanding of the lesson. In ICA, we are paying attention to the vertical articulation of the skills as mentioned by Teacher Diane. Do not worry, parents. All of the teachers from all grade levels are working together to make sure nobody is being left behind. Each teacher knows what is being taught in the previous grade. Your daughter will not be expected to do tasks that have not been taught the previous year. As mentioned, asynchronous tasks go hand in hand with face-to-face synchronous class. We advise that students watch and re-watch the videos to familiarize themselves with the lesson. And in the classroom, we constantly repeat lessons and drills to help your daughters understand. The beauty of these videos is that they are easily replayed whenever you need to. I now give the floor to Teacher Cess.
Thank you, Lauscher. As we transition to ODL, we have to consider the place where the child is learning. Pupils react differently in different physical places. In school, during the old normal, we were with the pupils for at least 3 hours. The classroom where they are in conditions them that this is a place where I will study. I have my teacher and my classmates in this room where we will study. They relate the classroom and the physical school as the place where they learn. There is a clear line separating school from home. However, in our new normal, as what we all know, the setup is different. We are all in our homes, which is a place where pupils relate it to playing and not really for school. In our observations, we see that they become easily distracted because they see, for example, their sibling doing other things like playing or probably somebody talking with someone while she is having class. Sometimes it all also sometimes also it cannot be avoided, just like what happened now, that the background noise from the people around distracts her. Background noise. See? So there are also so sometimes it really cannot be avoided. There also came a time that after 20 minutes, the legs of the pupils were the ones that can be seen on the screen. These things distract them and struggle with that. Also, their teacher is teaching them, and their parents are also there facilitating the lesson. So basically, there are so many things to consider in setting up the child's learning environment. So that's why, aside from considering the attention span that a child can hold, we should also remember the environment where she is during our classes. Because it goes hand in hand together to make learning work. So now may I call on Teacher Angel to share with us the role of the pupils during the ODL.
Hi parents, thank you teacher says. Roles of students. As we venture in the new normal setup of our education, the ODL, we will be needing the help and cooperation of the pupils and parents in making the learning possible and successful. The roles of the learners varies from what we are used to in the face-to-face setup. In the ODL, the pupils are expected to join their class-to-class schedule in which materials needed for the day should be prepared beforehand, since we announce it along with the study guide and the day before, such as whiteboard, markers, workbooks, among others. We also expect them to participate independently during the encounter time, wherein they can answer the teacher's questions on their own and do the synchronous activities independently. We don't expect them to answer everything correctly. That is why we approach their mistakes in which learning will also take place. We believe that the pupils can answer the asynchronous activities on their own as we design them for independent learning. We understand that some activities needs the assistance of parents, such as holding the camera when taking a video, pictures, and uploading the files. This is the reason why we need to go hand in hand to make this work. Of course, we would like the pupils to enjoy the learning process and feel the presence of their teachers as well as their classmates. That is why we try to make our activities fun and interactive as much as possible. Based on our experiences in the past weeks, with the current cluster schedule, we have observed that the pupils are enjoying the ODL, both sync and async. They are always excited to meet their classmates and teachers, and the children are also looking forward to fun activities we do in sync and async. We also give them chance to talk to their classmates to build friendship and relationship. Thank you. Now let's have Teacher Peach who will share the role of parents.
Thank you very much, Teacher Angel. Good afternoon, everyone. Now, let me share about our expectations on the role of our dear parents. I am sure that you all have been doing these for the last 1.5 months, and we really appreciate your efforts. First, as you can see on the screen, there are pictures. It is the parent's role to help your daughter navigate through Zoom and Seesaw. Although around this time, we have already observed that a lot of pupils, especially the older kids, have gotten used to how these apps work, how to log in, which buttons to press, and so on. They might still need your help in setting up the device or troubleshooting some problems once in a while. In case there might be issues which you cannot resolve on your own, you can always message your class advisor so we can also ask help from our tech support team. Secondly, you also play a big role in helping your daughter develop good study habits at home. Through constant reminders, verbally or even visually through posters, I am sure our girls will learn how to be mindful of their class schedules be responsible in preparing and handling their school materials, and be punctual in accomplishing and submitting their outputs. Lastly, we also expect you, dear parents, to supervise your daughter in answering the activities on our behalf, since we cannot be with her physically. But just like how teachers do it in school, please allow your daughters to make mistakes. I know that maybe some of you could not help, but coach your daughter with the pure intention of wanting them to learn. However, we all know that learning is a process. Even as adults, we learn new skills over a period of time. So, as much as possible, let us give our girls an opportunity to own their learning. It has more impact if they experience more aha moments and figure out how to try things on their own. Minimal support, such as reading and explaining instructions, would already be enough. Besides, raw answers coming from your daughters would also be valuable data for us, so we can really gauge their current level of understanding and design appropriate activities to help us achieve our learning objectives. If you observe that there are certain topics that your daughters cannot seem to understand, please feel free to request a SAP session with her teacher. Next slide, please. Given these roles, which might have been new to most of you, we have received a few feedback from some parents regarding the challenges they experienced they experienced especially during the first few weeks, our transitioning stage. But again, as mentioned, okay, our team collates all your feedback, course through the parent reps or class advisors, and discuss how we can address concerns and provide support in whatever way we can. So at this point, maybe may I ask for the participation of our attendees? If you could just quickly type in the Q&A our Q&A box, right? How you would rate the level of independence or the level of support that your daughters need. So maybe you can type the number one if your child is completely independent, meaning your involvement is mainly just to double check their output before their submission. Okay, but they do everything on their own. Maybe they know how to record themselves, they know how to take pictures if some activities require it. They can also read most of the instruction on their own, or they could rely on the voice instructions. Okay, maybe type 2 if you still double check their output and you also help them log in to Zoom. Number 3, if you give them some support or you provide some support while they do their outputs and you also help them log in to Zoom. And please type number 4 if you have to be there all throughout her work, both in synchronous and asynchronous tasks. So again, 1, it's just from 1 to 4, 1 being completely independent and 4 being completely dependent on you. So maybe I'll ask some teachers to help me if there are some parents who are typing down there. This is just a quick survey just for us to know what level of support does your daughter need, and maybe we could still adjust some of our instructions to better help them. Where can we see the answers? Teacher Marge or Teacher Katie? And if you could also type in the level of your daughter. Okay, maybe there are more girls who can be independent or who can already do most tasks on their own, especially in grade 1. But I'm sure for kindergarten girls, okay, there will be more parent involvement. So teachers, where can we find? Okay, so I'm seeing different answers. I see some parents answering 1, 2, and some are also indicating number 4, especially for younger students. Let me take a look. Okay, for grade 1, I can see some girls being completely independent. Okay, so as you can see, there are it varies depending on the age, the grade level, or even the home situation. I think some pupils would need more support from their parents. Okay, but I'm sure we have a few months ahead of us, I think we will be able to work hand in hand in order to help our daughters, to train them to become more independent as we go along. So maybe at this point, you can still continue sharing your answers in our Q&A box. But for now, let me turn you on to Teacher Danny, who will be presenting the pros and cons of our current ODL setup.
Good afternoon. So for the past month, the teachers have been observing the pupils during synchronous sessions, and we're sure that you have seen your daughters during encounter time as well. Just like any setup, there are pros and cons. Looking at all the clusters and classes, here are the teacher's observations. So for the pros, all pupils can participate in class discussions. Teachers can observe each pupil more. Pupils are more engaged and participative. There are more opportunities for pupils to have interaction, and teachers can easily identify which pupil needs assistance. Also, during in small clusters, the small cluster size also helps us in discipline and monitoring. For the cons, we have the following. We can see pupils roaming around the room during synchronous time. So given the 30-minute encounter time, which may seem short to adults, but to some children, 30 minutes is already a long time. Pupils are becoming restless and they lose motivation after 20 minutes and longer waiting time for clusters 3 and 4. Okay, so for the next slide, let me call on Teacher Yen or Teacher Lizelle. I think she will present the pros and cons of the hybrid schedule.
Good afternoon, dear parents. I'm Teacher Lizelle, and I'd just like to add on to what the teachers have already mentioned to you this afternoon. Okay, so we've looked at a number of possible ways to address the concerns raised with us. We asked ourselves, can we accommodate changes in schedule? Can we adjust the amount of and nature of asynchronous activities to be given? Can we adjust the design of synchronous sessions? Now, during the whole process, where we try to come up with a decision, we kept in mind that whatever we will end up doing would be for the best interest of our pupils. When we came up with our current schedule, the one we're having now, where we have a circle time for 20 minutes and encounter periods of 30 minutes long, we carefully considered expert advice. So, information on ODL, research on ODL, experiences of ODL by schools that do online learning. Okay, so we took that into consideration. We also considered the experiences of schools that were forced to go on ODL at the onset of ECQ. And also we looked into researches in neuroscience. Okay, so it was a really long process. Now, but we also understand your concerns because the learning environment, as discussed by Teacher Says earlier, has changed drastically. So in face-to-face classes, you brought your children to school, to the campus, and everything was care of the teachers. And then you get them at the end of the school day and they tell you about what happened. Now, that's the kind of education we're used to. But now, learning is at home and there are more people now. It's not just teacher and the kids in the classroom, it's the teacher, the students, and the parents, and then an adult with them. So that changes the dynamics of learning. Later on, we'll be presenting a possible compromise to address the concerns raised by parents that they wish that you'd wish to have longer synchronous sessions with the teachers. Um, the hybrid schedule that we will show, I think, is the best compromise we can give, considering logistical concerns and kumbaga, the studies on what really is best for the children and how learning can be more efficient. Um, Although the hybrid schedule would address the longer synchronous session time, it will definitely have consequences. Okay, now first would be the longer time would mean more more challenges in trying to sustain the pupil's attention. Okay, earlier I think teacher Christine was able to touch on the pupil's attention span or their focus. Now, I'd like you again to participate in this meeting. So I'd like you to let me know, what do you notice in your children during sync time, during the synchronous sessions? Do you have to constantly remind them to listen to teacher, or are they able to just stay there and listen the whole time from the beginning until the end? Okay, so just type in your observations during synchronous sessions, and then also you can share with us what happens after the 30 minutes of encounter time or Chinese time, math time. Are your children still able to continue and carry on with the task just sitting down? So after ending the Zoom session, you tell them, oh, go on seesaw, go ahead, do your task. Are they able to do that? Or would they need to take a break? Do they need to stand up, walk around, um, maybe have a snack, do something else before going back to schoolwork? Okay, so let's see. Feel free to type in your observations of your children during synchronous and asynchronous time. Okay. Okay. We have here a student who can stay on task for 30 minutes sometimes in the other subjects. She gets distracted when her classmates are not muted because of the noise. I understand that. Okay, luckily another one, they can still stay still and be able to continue with the seesaw tasks. Okay, so these are good points that children are still able to stay on task after 30 minutes. But what happens after that, after the 30 minutes? Okay, so basically, as teacher Christine mentioned, a child's focus can be calculated by her age. So given the age of a child, multiply it by 3 to 5. That would be the range that a child can keep her attention span. So what does that mean? For a child in pre-K, perhaps she can stay focused for 12 to 20 minutes. A kindergarten student, 14 to 25. A grade 1 student, 18 to 30 minutes. Okay, so what would happen beyond that? Well, as teachers, we'll have to constantly be on our toes, or else we will lose the children. Okay, so keeping their focus is is a challenge, because you really have to think of how you can get them back in. Remember, um, right now we have a group of 8, but once there is one child who loses her focus, a teacher has to draw her back in, and she's able to do that with a smaller cluster. But with a bigger cluster, it might not be as simple, although we will still keep trying. We will always keep trying to draw back the students and their attention. Okay, so just going back to the Q&A. So here I have parents saying, my daughter needs short breaks. Okay, there are children who know that after their synchronous session, they go check seesaw. Okay, all right. So these are all the different experiences that we are appreciating right now, that we hear all your voices. Okay. Um, Now you might be wondering, but how come children can focus when they play a video game or when they watch a movie? Well, because that's precisely what game designers do, and producers do. They introduce something new every 15 minutes. Okay, so it might be in a game. After 15 minutes, there's a new task given. Okay, so that's what happens. So that's why the attention of children can be sustained for long hours. Okay, and that's what that's a challenge that the teachers will face, or will prepare ourselves for, when we if we prolong the synchronous session. So that would mean, for example, we extend the period for an hour. Okay, it definitely will be a bigger cluster, and in that hour, it won't be purely the teacher talking. So you'll see a lot of activities in between. What will a class hour of 1 hour mean? It could mean a lot of short breaks. What kinds of breaks, brain exercises. There could be water breaks, even restroom breaks. Because even right now, at a 30-minute encounter time, we have children who need to step out to use the bathroom. So imagine having to keep them for an hour. So that will also be part of it. What else? Different tasks. So there will be tasks where they will be talking, it will be teacher talking, there will be chants, there will be songs, just to get them back in. Um, we'll we'll mix things up, okay, so that we can help them refocus and stay on task. Okay, so that the longer synchronous session, if ever we do that, will be efficient and will be maximized. Okay, now I think a while ago also one of the teachers shared their observations during ODL. So even at the 30 minute having a 30-minute synchronous session, you have children who are slouching, you have children who are lying down. Okay, so it really is difficult to keep them to keep to keep their focus and to keep them engaged. Okay, so these are the challenges that we all face in ODL. Okay, plus imagine being restless. So after the restlessness can come behavioral concerns, right? So for example, as a child, I feel restless right now. Later on, I get so restless that I blurt out something that I didn't mean to say. So these are things that can that it can be a consequence of a longer synchronous session. Okay, so and also Zoom fatigue. That is very true even for children. Right now, we've heard feedback that the children are excited to come to school. And yes, that is our goal, for them to be excited. We wouldn't want there to come a point when the children will not want to see us anymore because they're tired. They're tired after an hour or more of staying online. So that's what we're trying to avoid. By giving them the short sessions with us, we want them to stay excited. We don't want to lose the novelty of of ODL, of going to Zoom for class. Okay, that's our goal. Okay. Um, Also, as the slide says here, as the slide in front of you shows, no, aside from attention span, the hybrid schedule with a bigger class size would mean more pupils and less individual attention. So right now in the smaller clusters, the teacher really gets to know everyone. She knows their pace. She knows she can predict how they can respond to something. But if you put together a bigger group, it will be more difficult to get to know them. So, of course, we let's say we put together clusters. We plan a session with all 19 of them for grade 1. So let's just count how many children will be expecting in joint clusters. Pre-kindergarten would be around 10 in a cluster if we prolong the synchronous session. Kindergarten would have 16 and grade 1 would have 19, which is close to the cluster size of the grade school at 25. So it's really it's just a small difference, okay? But age is a big factor. The age of children and how they can deal with the environment matters. More mature children, older children, they're more able to adjust and to adapt um, to the environment than the smaller ones. With smaller ones, we'll need to process them more. We'll need to really explain things to them for them to make sense of it. Okay. Now, in line with the teacher not being able to immediately address each child during synchronous session, um, well, the attention of teacher gets divided definitely in a bigger group. Now, um, she might need to toggle between frames to make sure she sees everyone, which currently in the current schedule she doesn't need to do because she sees everyone in the frame, and she's able to keep an eye on, let's say, a child who may be sleepy today. I know she'll be able to notice that, but maybe in a bigger group she might not be able to see that as quickly as she can now. Okay, so um, in the next few slides, the teachers will be presenting to you the sample schedules that we are proposing to address the concern of longer synchronous sessions. However, I'd also like to point out that the longer synchronous session can only be done with the advisor, um, because the advisor gets to meet the children the whole week. And for the math teacher, because the math teacher meets the children twice. So she can do one session with the bigger class and then another session where she can get to know each child better. Okay, so I'd like to ask everyone to look very well and listen well to the schedules that the teachers will be presenting in a bit. Okay, so for the first batch of schedules for pre-kindergarten, I'd like to call on teacher Jane.
Good afternoon, parents. Okay, we'd like you to look closely on the schedule. Okay, this is more on this going through the specifics of what teacher Lizelle was saying. On the left, you can see two tables. Okay, this is for the cluster 1. This is the current schedule is the one on the left. As you know, we already have the longer circle time for 20 minutes of the whole class, and then 8:30 to 9 o'clock for their first cluster schedule. And of course, every Wednesday, their Chinese schedule. In between, you can see the time for their asynchronous. Now, look closely at the hybrid. How does this go? Cluster 1 and cluster 2 we will have 8 o'clock to 8:10, the prayer for the whole class. Monday and Tuesday, cluster 1 and cluster 2 will be together for their encounter time. So it will be an hour from 8:30 to 9:30. And then you can see the asynchronous time goes the same from 8:10 to 8:30 and then 9:30 to 11. Example for the Chinese, you still have it on Wednesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you still have the same schedule for cluster 1 from 8:30 to 9 o'clock. So may we have the next slide, please? For cluster 2, okay, it's the same. The one on the left, you could see that's your current schedule right now, the best that we could think of. Okay, this is a compromise with you, the hybrid schedule for cluster 2. So it's the same. With cluster 1, Monday and Tuesday, you are together for the encounter time from 8:30 to 9:30. And then from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you retain the same schedule from 9:10 to 9:40. Maybe have the next slide. Yes. Cluster 3, you will have, okay, as I've said, the one on the left is the longer circle time, your current schedule. The hybrid, how does it go? You're going to be together with cluster 4. So we're going to pray together from Monday and Tuesday from 8 to 8:10, and then asynchronous from 8:10 to 10 o'clock, and then together with cluster 4 for your encounter time from 10 o'clock to 11. So an hour with your children. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you retain the same schedule for cluster 3 from 9:50 to 10:20. And for cluster 4, you have the same, of course. For the hybrid, as you can see, prayer starts at 8 to 8:10, 8:10 to 10 o'clock, 8:10 to 10 o'clock, asynchronous. And then you join the cluster 3 for your encounter time, Mondays and Tuesdays. Every Wednesday, as you can see, there's your Chinese, and then your regular schedule from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 10:30 to 11. Okay, thank you. I'd like to turn you to Teacher Des for the kindergarten.
Okay, good afternoon, dear parents. Let us look at the longer circle time schedule. As you can see, the 10 minutes prayer time before is now 20 minutes circle time. The advisor can introduce the lesson of the day or have a quick recap of the yesterday's lesson. For the hybrid schedule, the circle time will go back to 10 minutes prayer time. Now let us look at cluster 1 schedule. Their encounter time on Monday and Tuesday is an hour because they will be joined by cluster 2. But during Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, they will be having encounter time with their respective clusters. Let us look at the cluster 2. Okay, as you can see, the combined schedule during Monday and Tuesday with cluster 1. Next slide, please. On clusters 3 and 4, just like clusters 1 and 2, they will be having joint cluster classes every Monday and Tuesday, and 30 minutes encounter time with their own respective clusters every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's every 10 to 11 a.m. Let's look at the cluster 4. Okay, there. You can see that on Mondays and Tuesdays, they will be having 1 hour synchronous time with cluster 3. For grade 1 schedule, I would like to call on teacher Sheila.
Thank you, Teacher Des. Good afternoon, dear parents. Now, I'm going to talk about the cluster for grade 1. Now, take a look at the one on the left. That is the cluster we are following right now. So for cluster 1, the encounter time we have is 8:30 to 9. But take a look at the one on the right. That is the hybrid schedule. So for encounter time, your daughters will be joined with another cluster, which is cluster 2, and we have a longer encounter time. But take note of the math schedule. From the one on the left, that is 30 minutes for math. On the hybrid schedule, that will be 1 hour, but they will be joined by clusters 2. It will be longer, but they will be more. Okay, and then from Wednesdays to Fridays, we will follow the same schedule that we have right now. And then the prayer time for the hybrid, it will only be for 10 minutes as compared to what we're having right now for our schedule. Now for cluster 2, take a look. It will be similar to the schedule of cluster 1. The encounter time in the hybrid schedule will be an hour from 8:30 to 9:30, but they will be joined by cluster 1. Okay? And then from Wednesdays to Fridays, we will still follow the old schedule. Okay, let's go to cluster 3. Next slide, please. Okay, for cluster 3, please take a look. Your daughter's encounter time, which we are following right now, is from 9:50 to 10:20. Now, if you want the hybrid schedule, your daughter's encounter time will be from 10 to 11, but they will be joined by another cluster, which is cluster 4. And take a look at math time as well. From 30 minutes, what we're following right now, it will be extended to an hour, but your daughters will be joined by cluster 4. So there will be more. And prayer time will also be shorter if you follow the hybrid schedule. And then from Wednesday to Fridays, we will still follow the same schedule. Now, let's take a look at cluster 4. Next slide, please. Okay, similar to cluster 3 because they will be joined by cluster 4. So your daughter's circle time, what we are following right now, it's from 10:30 to 11, right? During our synchronous time. But if you follow the hybrid schedule, your daughter's encounter time will be longer for 1 hour, but they will be joined by another cluster. And then the math schedule will also be longer, but they will also be joined by another cluster. So it's more or less the same. But the thing is, your daughters will be combined more with other girls. Okay, and then from Wednesday to Fridays, the schedule we will still retain the same schedule. Okay, may I now turn you over to Teacher Ems? Teacher Ems.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Teacher Sheila. Now, dear parents, we want to end our presentation by acknowledging you for all the efforts that you have given for the past weeks. We can feel and see that. Oh, we want to thank you also for all the feedback that you have given us, both to boost our confidence and some to make us reflect and improve our practice. Now, dear parents, we want you to know that we understand your concerns. Yes, we do hear you, but please understand also that at the end of the day, as educators, it is our call to weigh things and look at the best options which we think are helpful and beneficial to our dear ecans. Now, the previous teachers have presented with you the rationale behind our current practice. Why do we want to keep the shorter cluster schedule? Why do we want a smaller cluster size? Because it's something that has to do with the nature of the child because of their age. And we also have presented with you the summary of observations during the online classes. And we have presented the proposals. We have the hybrid schedule to answer the concerns of some parents. Now, After this town hall meeting, we're going to conduct a survey. And I hope, dear parents, when we answer the survey, let's not forget to reflect first and let's take into consideration all the important information that the teachers have presented to us. Let me remind you also, dear parents, that even before this town hall meeting, we tried to address your concerns. So the prayer time is converted already into circle time, an additional 10 minutes where we do introduction of lessons and we do some drills as well or review of the previous lessons. And then we also accommodated some activities from asynchronous. We accommodated them to synchronous sessions. Okay, so I want to end this also by telling you that, dear parents, please know that we share one community. We're in this together. We journey together, and I hope that we all know that we share a common goal. Okay, we see here in the slide learn, but I hope that it's not something that we want our girls to have at the end of the year, not just to learn, not to focus on the cognitive, but let's focus on the holistic development of each child. Okay, so with that, I would like to call on Teacher Lizal Salvan, our pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, and grade 1 supervisor, to give you the details about the survey and to continue answering some concerns posted in the Q&A chat box. Teacher Lizelle?
Right. Thank you, Teacher Ems. Okay, so dear parents, I'm currently looking at the Q&A. So there are a number of concerns that have been raised, and I just like to emphasize that the schedule that we presented is a proposal, just for you to see the compromise that we see possible. But it doesn't mean that it will automatically be implemented soon. So that's why we will be having a survey, because of course there are a lot of parents who do not say anything. So yes, we hear concerns, we hear parents who say um, their situation and the recommendations that they would that they'd like to give us, how we can improve the offering. But there are also some parents who say that they already want what is in place. So on our part, we'd really like to hear the voice of each one of you. And that's why we are going to open a survey where we will give you a chance to make an informed decision about which schedule would be more beneficial to the children. So you heard about the pros and cons. Is there a possibility to extend synchronous time and keep the small clusters? No, it's not possible given the logistics, given the big class size. So to be able to address that, there will be a need for more teachers, which we do not have, um, because that would be the only way to do that, to split sections and to give them to new teachers. Okay, so what we're doing now is to work with the logistics that we have, the number of faculty members, the amount of screen time that we would like to set for the children, um, there, and the needs of the parents. So that's where the survey comes in. Now I'll just like to go back to the schedules just so you can all see. You can check, you can recheck your daughter's cluster. Okay, so can we go back, teacher, to pre-kindergarten cluster 1? Okay, so just to recap, you will see on the left the current schedule and on the right the hybrid schedule. So 2 days in a week, the children will have longer encounter time with their advisors, but the rest of the week it will be the same. We'll keep the current schedule there so that there I mean for us, so that the kids can still get the best of both worlds. Okay, so there will be challenges for sure, but I mean, it won't be totally a big class for the whole week, because we really do not want to give up what we've set. Okay, so we just want to assure you that we hear your concerns, but we'd also like to ask for your continued trust. Okay, so this is for cluster 1. Okay, so for the hybrid schedule, Monday and Tuesday will be the same for clusters 1 and 2. So let's go to cluster 2, current cluster 2. Okay, so the difference for cluster 2 the cluster two's hybrid schedule will be found in the rest of the week, the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday schedule. Okay, so if your daughter is this is just a sample. So because there are two sections, definitely the other section will have a different Chinese time, but at least you get the idea of the encounter time. Okay, so for cluster 3 in kindergarten, there, as you can see, they'll still be together for the whole class prayer and some reminders from teacher, and then what follows is an asynchronous time, and they can only be met as a big cluster, as a joint cluster, cluster 3 and 4 at 10. Why? Because there is a section that might have their Chinese time affected, so cannot move the schedule earlier for Monday and Tuesday because there will be conflicts in the time of the other class. For example, for a class that has Chinese on Monday or on Tuesday, cluster 2 might the cluster 4 Chinese time will have conflict with the encounter time of that class of cluster 3 and 4. So that's why the encounter time has to be from 10 to 11. Okay, the rest of the week is still the same. Okay, for cluster 4 pre-kindergarten, the same. Okay, so at least you get the idea of how your cluster schedule will change from the current schedule to a hybrid schedule. Okay, for kindergarten, basically it's similar for kindergarten. The only difference is the once a week music, once a month, I'm so sorry, once a month music class. Okay, so you can look at the difference for kindergarten cluster 1. So for example, in this sample schedule, the music class of the class falls on a Tuesday. So this is a sample of a student in this class. So if I'm cluster 2, my Monday will be just one block of 1 hour with a bigger group. On Tuesday, 1 hour with a bigger group, and once a month, 30 minutes with my music teacher. The rest of the week, it's just as what we have right now. Okay. So kindergarten, cluster 3, there. Okay, so you'll see again the hybrid. So for the hybrid schedule, that will definitely be clusters 1 and 2 together, 3 and 4 together. Okay, so you see that they will be met as a big group from 10 to 11. Okay, let's go to the last cluster. Yeah. Okay. So the change will be in the Monday and Tuesday schedule. Okay, let's go to grade 1. Okay, grade 1 has more subject teachers. Okay, so you see now the math time, the first math period they have for the week will also be an hour. So if I'm a grade 1 student, I'm with my advisor from 8:30 to 9:30, and on Monday, I'm with my math teacher from 10 to 11. So that's 2 hours of encounter time. Okay. And then for cluster 2, there. Same as cluster 1. An hour for encounter, an hour for math. Okay. All sections will definitely have this because if you look at your schedule, there is always one day. There's always a one day before. There are two schedules of math. So the first schedule will be a 1 hour schedule. Okay. Cluster 3 will have the same Monday and Tuesday, bigger the merge cluster schedule as cluster 4. Okay, let's go to cluster 4. There. Okay, so the change is really just in the Monday and the Tuesday. But okay, so I see items in the Q&A saying, but will the bigger cluster work? Well, we've already presented the pros and cons. Okay, so now we'd like you to think about it also. So for example, I'm one parent who would like the longer sync time, but given all these pros and cons, do I still want it for my child? Okay, so all of you will be given that chance, will be given that voice. Okay, so we'd like you to share with us how you really feel about it, or would it work? Okay, because we've met with the level reps a few times, and there have been mixed feedback. Okay, so we just want to give everyone a chance to be heard. All right. Okay, so later on, I will. So before I continue, I'll just look at some of the questions in the Q&A. So I think I can give at least maybe a few minutes to address some of the questions. So there's quite a lot. Whatever we do not answer, we'll try to type it up for all of you to view, to read. Okay. So wait a minute. So it's quite a lot. Okay. So I'll try to go to the items earlier. Teachers, can you help me view the questions from earlier? If you can read the important questions to me. Okay. All right. For the Chinese sessions, will it still be 30 minutes per session? Yes. Okay. So the what they're doing now is to try to slow down the pace in Chinese so that the burden will not be on you. Okay, because I think we have concerns from parents who are non-Chinese speakers that they don't know how to teach their children. So what the Chinese teachers I think are trying to do now is to give the children more time to master the skill. Okay, given the once a week sessions that they have, this once a week synchronous sessions. All right. Okay, so with regard to muting, so I think the teachers are also aware that whenever there is a student that whenever in a class in a synchronous session there is background noise from the students can distract the classes, so they can mute the children right away. Okay, so there, I think the answer there is to be just more conscious about it. Okay, let's so I'm just running through it. I think there's a question here about breakout rooms. Okay, let me just look for that. I saw it earlier. Okay, so now to have breakout rooms, it would mean assigning teaching assistants, which we do not have. So the for a breakout room to work, in our case, we will have to merge classes together. We'll have to take the classes in bigger groups so that we can assign assistant teachers. Okay, so that is the concern there. But I just cannot look. I cannot find it right now. Wait, let me check. Okay, so that's the concern with breakout rooms. Although when that was already raised with us, we tried to think about it. Okay, because we cannot just leave the children on their own and move from breakout room to breakout room. Okay, so that's the concern that we have about that. And we've also been in constant conversations with the different schools in Metro Manila. And those who have been handling bigger classes have all, it's ironic that these are the people who tell us not to give in. Okay, because that's their experience. Their experience of having bigger classes is that it's more difficult to manage the class size. They're doing everything, but they know that their students are not engaged in the activity. Okay, the students can seem like they're looking at the screen, but they know they're somewhere else. Their minds are somewhere else. Sometimes their screen is on something else. They can play their games while they're in class. So these are the things that they're trying to tell us. That they tell us about their experiences. So these are the realities that they face, and they're telling us that your clusters is helpful. Okay, so am I still there? The screen became black. Okay, okay. Let me continue. Okay, all right. So there, that's my concern with the question on having breakout rooms, because I think the concern there was the parents, so that the parents can have an option to leave their children also. Okay, so we understand the concern about that, but let's look at we'll look into how else we can make ODL work, in the sense that you won't feel that you're always you're obliged to be beside your children all the time. Okay. Okay, so is dividing the girls in AM and PM classes an option right now? Unfortunately, it is not an option to have a morning and afternoon class. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's see the other questions that we have. Um, Teachers, do you see any question that you'd like me to address right now?
Teacher Lizelle, excuse, I think the rotation of clusters that you're asking.
Oh, will there be a rotation of cluster
Thank
schedules
you.
at the end of the quarter or semester? Okay. We haven't looked into this right now because of course when there is a rotation of cluster schedules, that would mean adjustment for all the families again. Okay, so these are the things that we carefully consider because if we just rotate everyone, this cluster will move here, the whole family will have to adjust. Now what about the families who have working parents? So these are the considerations before we even do that. Okay, now having one subject per day. Okay, so in pre-kindergarten to grade 1, as I showed during the orientation, it's an integrated, we have an integrated approach to teaching the children. So the flow of the lessons would depend on how the skills or the topics merge. So we can't assign a specific subject each day. So for example, Monday will always be English, Tuesday will always be math for kinder, Wednesday will always be Chinese, Thursday will always be PE. That's the thing that we cannot do because of the integration of all the skills and the topics and the classes. Okay, so that's why we give you a study guide. If you notice in the study guide, the objectives are there. What are the skills expected of your children? You'll see at the top part of your study guide the topics and the objectives. So these are the skills that we wish to develop in them. Okay, given all the activities. Okay, and then at the bottom you will see all the activities. So the teachers have broken down the information for you, dear parents. So they already tell you the reminders for synchronous session, what you need to bring during synchronous sessions, the activities for your asynchronous tasks, and they even have a checklist of what to submit. So these are the things that you'll just need to look at every time we begin a new week in school. Okay, so why do we have an integrated approach to teaching? Because that's how learners at a young age learn. That's how young children learn. Everything has to make sense. They have to see that this topic is connected to the other one, and then they have to make sense of everything. A lesson cannot stand alone. So for example, if you notice the lessons, we begin with a story, and this story just branches out beautifully into different skills, different deeper topics. Okay, that's how integration works. From one thing, everything else is connected to that. Okay, so that's how the children make sense of it. It's how the children, how the learning of the children becomes more real. Okay, because it makes sense. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do. Okay. Okay, so with regard to the AM and PM sessions, there currently there is no option to open a PM class. Okay, but if there is a need, we will have to look into it. Okay, I think that's the only answer that I can give you right now. But currently there are no discussions about an afternoon class. Okay, an afternoon class to make the cluster smaller. But the thing is, it will still be dependent on the number of teachers because even if we open an afternoon class, it'll be the same teachers who will be teaching. So imagine the current class. Let's pretend. Let's take for example pre kin no kinder daffodil. Now there will be parents who would like, let's say, let's split it into a morning and afternoon class, but that same teacher will have to teach the whole day. That I think that's our concern about it. Okay, so if the parents see that if let's say that the decision to implement the hybrid schedule will depend on the results of the survey and the discussion that we will have with with the teachers and the administration. Okay, what if we implement it and it doesn't work? Well, whatever we implement, there is no going back unless we see that that it burdens the children. Okay. Okay, so again, the question on rotation keeps coming up. We have not looked into rotation, and to have a rotation in clusters, meaning, for example, I'm cluster 1 and I meet my advisor at 8:30. Next term I'm still part of cluster 1, but I will meet my teacher at 10:30. Okay, we have not made a discussion on that. Okay, because again, I will repeat, the concern is how the households will again have to adjust in the change in schedule. Okay, so these are the things that are important considerations. Okay, but we will look into having a survey again for that later on, because currently the survey that I will present later on is just about schedule and some information that I will also talk about later on. Okay, so trial session, we cannot, because again, that would mean that you will have to try it out and then go back. So there's still a lot of logistical preparation for that. So what we can offer is the schedule, and then if given all the information that we give, if you believe that that is the most beneficial schedule for the children and we implement it, then that's it. I understand that you're saying that well, but it's difficult to imagine. Okay, but then if we implement it and we'll have to go back, there is so much work to be done in on the part of everyone, the teachers, the parents, the children. And that's the that I think the children, um, I'm more concerned about them. Okay, extending 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so we have also looked into extending encounter time for just a few minutes, around make it maybe 35 to 40 minutes. But when we do that, that would mean an extension of the whole school day until 11. Oh, no, no, sorry, until around 12. Why? Because in between the clusters, there will always be a gap. So for example, we add a few minutes after cluster 1. So cluster 2 will move down, and then it's a longer time, right? They meet for like 40 minutes. Then there's another gap for cluster 3. And then 40 minutes of that, then another gap for cluster 4. So everything will just move down. Okay, so again, we're looking at how this will affect everyone. All right, so it might be okay for you, but right now we already have concerns about parents not wanting to wait until 10:30 for their class time. So see, there are so many things to weigh. All right. Okay. So additional Chinese encounter. Right now, logistically, it is not possible. Okay, because of the number of teachers that we have. Okay, so there. Yes. So if we extend the synchronous sessions for 10 to 15 minutes, that would mean longer asynchronous time or longer waiting time for everyone also. All right. Okay. So are there any questions? Any other? Right now it's already 3:08. Maybe maybe one more. Do you see a question that I need to answer right now, teachers? Okay. So I think what the best thing to do, I think, in terms of from a point of view of an educator, would really be adjusting the curriculum because of the different situation that we are in. Okay. Um, all right. So this town hall meeting was formed, no, to allow you, dear parents, to hear how, for all of you to get a chance to hear how the school and your teachers have been addressing all the concerns raised with us. We recognize that there will be some procedures and decisions that would not please everyone, but as mission partners, we listen to each other to help us make an informed decision. That decision will always aim to be beneficial to the children. It might be uncomfortable for us adults, but keep in mind that it will always be what's best for our children. Now, after this town hall, we will ask you to answer a very short survey and evaluation. Okay, so we'd like, again, I'd emphasize that we'd really like to hear each one's voice. Now, in the survey, there are only two questions. One would be about the schedule. Okay, so now that you're able to make an informed decision about the best schedule for the children, so give us your thoughts on that. All right. And the other question is meant for us to see if the pupils have been exposed to going to mass and if they are ready to do so. Okay. Because as a Catholic school, we just like to to have a pulse how many of the children right now from kindergarten to grade 1 actually go to online masses with their parents. Okay, so we just want your honest answer to that. Okay, now I really hope we all hope that this town hall has given you valuable information to reflect on how we can work better together. I think the most challenging part about embracing ODL is changing our mindset about education and learning. Okay, the challenge for each one of us, as a parent, as a teacher, is is embracing a growth mindset. Um, as individuals right now at this day and age, no, we are all called to be ready, to be flexible, and also to be humble to admit our shortcomings. Now, our reality has changed drastically because of the pandemic, because of COVID-19. But despite that, no, um, we in education, we commit to continue helping each child develop the most essential learning competencies and skills that will help them grow and thrive. Um, as I mentioned during the orientation at the beginning of the school year, we aim to develop the whole child cognitively, socio emotionally, her motor skills, her physical health, her well being, her aesthetic skills, everything together. It's not just about the cognition. And we remain committed to that despite our setup. It may look different now. So, forming the whole child looks different now, but we will continue to do what we can to teach our children to become human beings, to form the next generation there, to form the next generation. Now, ultimately, I think all, all educators have one goal, and that's to form students to be assets to our nation. Okay, so I think I'd like to say this in Filipino because it just sounds so beautiful when said in the Filipino in Filipino in our language, no? Lahat ng mga ginagawa naming mga guro ay taos-puso naming ginagawa para sa Panginoon, para sa bayan at para sa kabataan. Okay, so dear parents and fellow teachers, with that, I'd like to thank you for joining us this afternoon. The questions in the chat box that were not addressed, we will go through it and then we will respond to them. We will prepare perhaps a document that you can all view later on. Okay, so with that, on your screen now is a QR code that you can scan that will lead you to the survey, or you can type in, or you can click on the, or can you click, but at least you can look you can type in the link to the survey. Okay, so we will be waiting for your responses. Dear parents, thank you again for joining us this afternoon, and have a good afternoon.